And welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here this morning visiting with Allison Blake and Jim Bullnar, both of Guardian Ad Litem. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And now, do I understand Guardian Ad Litem is going by a new name, CASA, or is this a portion of Guardian Ad Litem? Explain how these two things work together.
Well, a guardian ad litem is someone who's appointed by the court to help the court make decisions about what's in a child's best interest. Some of our guardian ad litems are called CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates. They're volunteers from all across the county. And our other guardian ad litems that our court uses are attorneys.
Okay. Now, this Guardian Ad Litem program, explain to me how this got started and exactly what it's about.
Well, it started back in 1982, which luckily was before my time a little bit. It really started because our judges needed more eyes on the children, more opinions, more information, because the more information a judge has, the better decision they can make. And so the program started also with an eye to the community being involved with our court, because up to that point we had only used attorneys as guardians.
And who are these people guardians of? Are we talking about young people getting into trouble with the law? Who works with whom?
Well, usually most of the kids are involved in the foster system, or they're involved in the CASA or Guardian Ad Litem program, primarily because their parents haven't lived up to their responsibilities. It's really nothing the child has done. We're there primarily to make sure that they're looked out for. We're the eyes and the ears of a judge who can't be there at all times. And we're also there to help make sure that they don't fall through the cracks and become juvenile delinquents in some way. They're just juveniles. They're trying their best. Most of them are proud kids, and they want to do good, and we're just helping them to do that.
So the children we're talking about, these are children who they're at risk, are we saying, that in homes particularly where there may be some abuse or neglect taking place?
Yes, that's exactly the case, and either they're still there because of a situation that isn't quite that bad, or they've been removed to a foster care situation.
How do you find these children?
They usually come to us through the court system. Allison?
Yes, after a case is filed by Job and Family Services, then we get involved. So these children are alleged dependent, neglected, or abused, and that's when our CASA volunteers come in.
Okay, the program's called Our Community, so fill us in on our community. How extensive is this problem? How extensive is the need for guardian ad litems to come in? And is that, with the Latin, I always run into trouble. Are they guardian ad liti or CASAs
Yes.
to step up and be able to assist you?
Yes, it's either CASAs or guardians ad litem. It's guardian for the case. So you don't take on the legal responsibility of that child like you would if it was a guardianship. So it's a guardian for the case for that child while they're involved with the department or with the system. Just this year alone, in Stark County, almost 200 children have had a case filed that they were dependent, neglected, or abused. Out of those children at this point, we had enough volunteers to take on 62 of those children.
What happens to the rest?
They get assigned an attorney who is also their guardian ad litem. The attorneys are not required to have the same level of involvement as our volunteers. Our volunteers have to see that child at least once a month. The attorneys are required once every dispositional period, once every couple months. But it's just different in that our volunteers you can take one child, you can take 2 or 3, depending on what your schedule is. And you really have the time to focus on that child, where the attorneys, it's a job. And even when I worked as an attorney guardian, I might have 25 cases, just like our caseworkers that have the same thing, because they're overworked, frankly. So our volunteers really step back and focus on that maybe one case.
Mm-hmm. And you're here today because we need more guardians ad litem, correct?
Yes, we do. We have great ones that are out there working now, and yet we always still need more.
Well, tell us, because this might be a little bit of an intimidating volunteer opportunity. Somebody might say, I don't know if I'm up to this. What is required of a guardian?
Well, what's required of a guardian is, as Allison said, at least once a month to go out and visit their child. They have 30 hours worth of training that they need to do beforehand, and that can be done either in a classroom situation where there's 4 to 5 or 10 other volunteers that are taking the training at the same time. The schedule can be coordinated with everyone involved, and there's also independent training that you can take. Half of that can be done online, and then the other half is coming into the office and visiting.
And when you're talking about visit with a child, what does that look like? What are we specifically asking of someone?
You go to wherever the child is placed, whether that's in a home of a biological parent, whether that's in a foster home, residential setting. Wherever that child lives, you meet them where they live so that you can make sure that they're safe and okay.
And you're just checking on them? You do activities with them? The parent is there while you're there?
Well, it's case by case, really, on what you do with your child. It's going to depend on the age of the child. At some point, you're required to talk to that child alone. You know, again, depending on the age, you're not going to take a baby off in a separate room just to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so at some point, you would have that child alone, whether it's a biological parent or a foster parent or a relative placement, whatever. You're going to have that child one-on-one so you can make sure everything's okay.
Now, there's got to be a way to approach this subject because you're dealing, I mean, this is sensitive. You're talking to a child, and I'm sure that in their mindset, they don't want mommy or daddy to get into trouble, but you somehow still need to find out the truth from them and make sure they are okay. I guess I'm asking you to train me here at the table.
Well,
what do you do?
Well, the first thing I tell people who want to be volunteers is I look at it as 3 tiers. First, you have the foster parent who's there 24/7. Then you have mentoring that gets involved possibly 2-3 times a week. And then you have a CASA volunteer who has to visit their child once a month, possibly more. It's all what they want to do and what they feel is necessary. In getting to know the child, you get to know them well enough where you can go and speak for them in court. So what you're really doing is just finding out for the child and letting that child know that I'm here to speak in your best interest for you. A caseworker a lot of times is involved in making sure that the family is maintained, that the unity is there, where you as a CASA volunteer only go there just for the child. So that's the purpose of getting to know the child well enough. Mm-hmm. And as Allison said, you have to meet with him at least once alone. You can't transport him anywhere. That's where it's different than mentoring.
And it's not big brother or big sister.
No. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you can meet them places. And anywhere from 0 to about 18 years old, up to being a little bit older if they're challenged in some way. But I have one who's a teenager, and he's a wrestler. I love to go watch him wrestle. I get more out of sitting down in between his matches and talking to him than I do really sitting down one-on-one across from him. Mm-hmm. So you pick the opportunities. You're very empowered to do that, if it's at the foster home or whether it's at an event such as like a wrestling match.
Mm-hmm. That does bring in just a very a good question that I would love to know more about your experience. Are you here as a volunteer or are you, yes, not a paid employee? Allison, you're both, okay?
Yes, I'm the director.
And you're the director. Have you both worked directly with young people in this kind of a sense?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You both have?
Yes.
Well, there've got to be some amazing, wonderful stories that have come from it. We're talking about 1982. That's 33 years ago. There's got to be generations of really good, happy endings here. Talk a little bit about some of those.
Well, there's 2 situations that I like to talk about. One is the fact that I right now look over 3 children. One is challenged, and she'll be in the system for quite a while. The other 2 are older teenagers, and both of them I met about 3 years ago. They are both in a situation in foster homes where they're about to be adopted. So this went from a situation where they weren't happy. They were being neglected and abused. One relatively longer period of time than the other one, but both of them ended up in situations where they're going to be adopted. They're comfortable. They're happy. I can see their personalities change. Mm. The other one I wanted to mention is actually a foster parent who was so encouraged and so uplifted by the CASA volunteer who came and looked after several of their kids, that he's actually becoming a CASA volunteer himself.
I was going to ask if that ever happens. I wondered, and certainly it would. Let's talk about the ones who are about to be adopted now. You have, first of all, how long of a commitment does a person sign up for? If you've been with their lives for 3 years, is this an indefinite kind of an opportunity?
At least once. Usually you sign up for at least a year of the training.
And then you re-sign?
You make sure that through, similar to CEUs, you keep up with the credits. And when a new case comes along, Jean will give us somebody a call, one of our volunteers, and ask if they want the case. A lot of times, Jean Desmond knows exactly what kind of child you're looking for. Like I said, you're empowered. So if you like toddlers, she'll kind of make sure toddlers go your way. If you much prefer the teenagers. Having been a coach, I'm much more used to the older kids. And there are some, naturally, that like the babies. But
now,
she'll take that into consideration.
But I've got to imagine that you form such bonds with these children as you're working with them. So what happens after someone's adopted? Do you not see them anymore, or can you continue to get together as friends, or what does happen next?
Well, that depends on the adoptive family, because they become really the parents. And so if they want you to stay involved, we do have CASA who, even years down the road, will still get, the Christmas card and the pictures and that kind of thing of their children. I have a few tacked on my wall, so...
Oh, I would think. I just can't even imagine suddenly they're not in your lives anymore. You've been so close, and then suddenly you're not in their life anymore. I would think that would be hard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, okay, we need to recruit some folks here, don't we? So let's see. Tell us a little bit about these classes or the training that takes place. This is ongoing. How does a person sign up?
Well, I'll let Allison take care of the training. Before that, I'll let everyone know that the thing that's different about CASA volunteering is you're pretty much out there on your own. So we have what are known as CASA cafes, usually once or twice a month, where we all get together. You can come and go as you please over a 2-hour period. Sometimes we have a speaker. Sometimes we just get together and talk. That way you get to know each other and you find out that, wow, your child is going through this. I had a child like that a couple years ago, and I can give you some advice. In addition to that, as I said, we go out to different fairs that we can get to know people. And at the same time, we have an open door policy where we tell people, give us a call. If you have any questions, come on in. And so we like to think that we're a large family, and that just like you take care of a CASA kid, we take care of you.
Well, I love the fact that you've got this support group of other CASA workers, and that you tend to commiserate and share successes and be able to get together in this way as a support group. Are these formal? Are these just something you say, let's all hang out here, or how do these come about?
Well, we schedule it usually, and it's on our Facebook page, and it's Facebook Stark County CASA /GAL and GAL.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and explain, and I will continue to take notes here.
And we also have a newsletter that goes out once a month and lets everybody know how everybody else is doing and things that are coming up, whether it's a training environment for those CEUs to keep you up to date, or whether it's a classroom situation. In our last classroom situation, we actually had several people who had gone through the volunteer training actually come for the classroom because they realized that, there's something I think I can get, and this was above and beyond the training that they had already accomplished through the volunteer and the independent training.
Oh, that is nice. All right. We are finding out about guardian ad litem and CASA, and don't go away. We're going to be finding out much more on the other side of this break. You're listening to Our Community.